Back for this week's episode of the podcast Les Millionnaires des Diamants. I'm with my colleague Sylvain, and today we are starting a new book for our podcast. So, as you guys know, last week we finished the coverage of our book Super Communicator, and we wanted to keep like the momentum because that was something quite new, talking about like communication in our last segment of our podcast. And the subject that we have decided to talk about for that new segment is also the first time that we cover it. So the book that we chose is Building a Story Brand 2.0 from Donald Miller. Okay. And honestly, starting that book will be very interesting. It's the first time that we talk about that subject that is more about marketing, more about like the message that we send, because we all know that the business that we are in is called network marketing. So we need to think about it, think about how we project ourselves into the world. How can we gain more client? How can we gain also more recruits? So those are all subjects that we are going to talk about. And at the beginning of the book, in the introduction, the author is telling us this. Okay, this book is not about telling your company story. This would be a waste of time. Customers generally don't care about your story, they care about theirs.
Yeah. So, Jean-Philippe, that's a kind of a punch in the gut, huh? We spend so much time usually talking about ourselves. We talk about our product and how efficient they are. But he said, okay, stop. Nobody cares. We always say that nobody cares about you. So when sometimes we are, shy to do something, just get over it. Nobody cares about you. Um, and that's what we picked this book, because in our business we constantly face this challenge. Okay, we all know we have an amazing product. We are dedicated to help our customer to save time, save money in their kitchen. We want to help our team and everyone in their organization to be the best pay in North America. But if our message to the customer it's not clear, okay, or let's say when we want to recruit someone it's not clear, so we are talking about ourselves, and uh, they think, okay, but what about me? Okay, you have to talk to me.
Yes, and throughout this book, to help us build that message and be sure that we are talking to the client, okay, we will look at what the author called the SB7 framework. That is the Story Brand 7. There are 7 steps in it, framework. So Miller promised that if we clarify our message using that 7-part framework, we can double, triple, and quadruple our revenue. So who here would love like to quadruple their revenue in their business? Like I'm pretty sure that everybody get theirs hands up. Okay, so this is what we want to look at, and this is what Donald Miller has done with many businesses, actually thousands of businesses. So if it worked for them, okay, being like big brand or small brand, okay, so why not us? Okay, so today we're setting up like the stage. Okay, we will talk a little bit about who is Donald Miller. Okay, why this approach is grounded in science. We will look at how business, okay, actually we can see them like through a different lens. So we will look at the reason why, the number one reason why business are failing when they want to evolve or get to the next level.
Yes, so I'm so excited to think of talk about a subject that we never talk. So let's say marketing, how we can sell us. So, but before starting, we want to talk about the author. So David Donald Miller, it's not like a guru of the marketing. No, he doesn't appear out of nowhere. He is a writer first. He wrote best-selling memoir including Like Jazz, which sold millions of copies. What it's interesting in that is that his journey is deeply human. In the book he explained how it spent hour looking at a white blank page, okay, wondering, okay, what I'm going to write. And that frustration pushed him to search for a framework. So that method helped him to sell millions of books, and then he applied it to his own small business. So the result, once they clarified the message, they doubled their revenue for 4 consecutive years. So today he worked with more than 10,000 businesses every year around the world. And what is incredible is that in this framework worked just as well um, for $1 billion brand, but it works too for a small business. So this is a good start. So I say, okay, you know what? We should decide to read that book. So it could help us to double. Um, so why it could help anyone, any business? It's because it works with the human brain. So as we know, no matter where you come from, we are attracted to clarity and we don't love confusion. Okay, and that's where science entered the picture. So um, Miller think about neuroscience. Okay, so he just don't want to tell just a story. Okay, he decide, okay, you know what, I'm going to take those notions that we know about neuroscience and we are going to um, incorporate them. um, so he asked a good friend, okay, Mike McHarg. He is known as Science Mike, to help explain why the frameworks works. And you're gonna see that it's simple, okay, and we are going to explore it even in the future podcast, okay. But before, because everything starts with understanding how our customer brain works.
Yes. So this is the very interesting part, okay? Because as we will look at, we will understand really like the function of the brain and how it is connected to like what we want to do with our business. So science might explain like to Miller that okay, here is an analogy, okay? Imagine you're standing in a huge ballroom. So obviously you look like there is beautiful tables, they have chandelier, like there's drapery everywhere in the windows. Okay, so you're standing there. Okay, and if you spend an hour there, okay, your brain probably won't count the number of chairs. Okay, but what will your brain do? It will absolutely know where the emergency exit are. Okay, so you will like scan the room and look like okay, there is an exit room like at the back, and there is one like just behind me. Why is it this way that our brain naturally will look for emergency exit and not count the number of chair? It's because our brain is wired for survival. Okay, so knowing how many chairs are in the room doesn't help you survive in that situation. But if something is happening, let's say like an emergency, a fire, like an earthquake, no matter what it is, okay, knowing where the exit are might save your life. So our customer brain do exactly the same with our marketing, with the message that we are sending. So if our message, okay, doesn't connect to the survival or the prosperity, the brain of our client will only like shut us out. Okay, and this is what okay Miller explained, okay, that we need to get back to what we call the Maslow hierarchy pyramid. Okay, so if you guys know, like this is a subject that we've covered many times. Okay, what is the Maslow pyramid? So at first our brain prioritize psychological needs. So we want food, we want water, and we want shelter. So in today's world, okay, it often means that having a job and having like a stable income, because you know that if you have that, you can have food, you can have water, and you have like a shelter, okay? Then comes safety, okay? The feeling of being secure and being in control is the second level of that pyramid. After that comes what we call the belongings, okay, which is about finding your tribe, finding some friendship, and building relationship. And finally, the last level of the Maslow pyramid is the one that is about fulfillment, finding a meaning and a purpose for your life. Okay, so based on that, Miller adds something very important. He said that every great stories that we hear about company or people is about survival. It's about physical, emotional, relational, and spiritual stories, okay? About anything else, anything about other subject won't captivate your audience. So that means that when you talk about like your internal processes in your company, about that history, about the technology that has been used like to develop like new products, you are talking about chairs. You're not talking about the survivals. You're not talking about what will help the customer thrives.
Exactly. And he said in the book that this is usually the mistake number one. Okay. It's failing to focus of the part of our offer that help people survive or flourish. So when you are looking to a good branding, to a good story, so you are going to talk about, let's say, survival, make sure that you are going to eat, all the all from the Maslow pyramid. So this is always something that we are going to, let's say, reach the customer easily. Okay, so we say, okay, what are the example that works? Okay, so let's say when Apple launched the iPod, okay, they didn't say, okay, we have our MP3 player and there's a 5 gigabyte hard drive and 10 hours battery life. Okay, so now we're talking about component and I don't care. But they say 1,000 song in your pocket. You see the difference? It's completely different. So the first message was very technical. Okay, I cannot understand that. Okay, but the second is emotional. Okay, it speaks to freedom. We talk about identity. We talk about enjoyment, and we tap into prosperity, not specification. So this is why Apple dominate the market, even when we have a competitor and they have better product, they had better product, but Apple spoke to the customer primitive brain, not just the rational prefrontal cortex. Okay, so we have to say you are in safety. Okay, with the iPod you're gonna have 1,000 songs in your pocket.
And plenty of companies actually make that mistakes. Okay, here's a couple like to help us illustrate like that principle. Okay, so I don't know if you remember like the Segway. Okay, you know that Segway which like you get like wheels and like you can like go everywhere. Okay, with big wheels on the side. Okay, the mistake was the following one. Okay, they marketed that new let's say car, I don't know like how to call it, okay, a gyroscopic engineering revolution that will redefine urban transportation. So engineers absolutely love it, okay, and they say, oh my god, this would be wonderful. But everyone else, okay, were like, so why do I need this one? Okay, there's already the bus, there's already like the taxi, there's already like Uber, there's the subway, there's all of that. So why do I need this? Okay, but at the same moment, okay, Volvo car company, okay, were saying as they were getting out like new car, okay, this is the safest car for your family. And here, okay, just with those few words, okay, that was a direct appeal, okay, to one of our most basic survival instinct, which is protecting the people that we love. Okay, so just simple words, short, okay, that get actually connected to those first level of the Maslow pyramid. Okay, uh, if we look at some gym, how do like some gym do the marketing instead of other one? Okay, some say our gym has 500 square meter of state at the art equipment imported from Germany and a level 4 certified coaches. Well, here you're talking about the chair. You're talking about what's inside, okay? But instead, the message, okay, if we want it to be more stronger, should be about lose weight, regain your energy, and play with your kids without back pain. Okay? Here we talk about first health, okay? Your back pain. We talk about family. We talk about quality of life, which is about regaining your energy. So, what is important to understand here, okay? And this is what Miller says, even if we have the best product on the market, okay, you lose, okay, to an inferior products if your competitor communicates more clearly. Okay, and that is a tough truth. Okay, we're not just competing on product quality, we're competing on the message clarity. And this is something like that just hit me like we need to talk about the clarity of the message.
Yeah. So let's talk about mistake number one. Okay. We're not talking to the primitive brain and the consequence. So we say, okay, we should talk about Tupperware. Okay. So we just had an episode of, we were on the verge of the bankruptcy and then, okay, we've been sold. Okay. But it caused so many damage. Okay. But let's say we're gonna evaluate what happened. Okay, so what was the mistake that we did ourselves? So I said we, but I was not in charge of the story brand of Tupperware. Okay, so we add our own story brand at Les Diamants, but let's say Tupperware worldwide in more than 80 countries. Okay, so the company, okay, we all know that they are it's an iconic brand, okay, in food storage. So can we imagine created in 1948? So and we have more than now 80 years of life. Okay, but what happened? So he said, according to the Miller framework, okay, so we have to talk about the primitive brain. Okay, we did the mistake number one. Okay, we talk about ourselves. Okay, we talk about our product. We talk about our sales network. Okay, but we forgot to talk about what actually help customers survive and thrive. Okay, so what would be a good story brand version? Okay, so the old message was Tupperware, high quality food storage container supported by our network of consultants. Okay, so the message it's okay. I understand we have high quality product, but what it does for the customer? Okay, it's about the company. It's not about the customer. So this is something that maybe it could be a better story to tell.
Yes. So if we try just to adapt, okay, like that message, okay, to that mistake number one, okay, and the story brand framework that we will look at in the next podcast, okay, this will probably sound more like this. So for Tupperware, okay, stop wasting food and money. With our food storage solution, prepare meals ahead of time, save time every day, and give your family healthy meal without the stress. So what is interesting, okay, Sylvain, is when we did that exercise, when we worked the podcast yesterday, again, looking for some example, well, that example is very close to our mission at Les Diamants. So that explains a lot because Les Diamants, we have like the let's say like the longest long life like in Tupperware here, like in North America. Like with Maria, we've been there like for over 43 years now. But there is a reason. It's because our mission is not stated exactly this way, but it's exactly those themes that are about, and it's probably the reason why we have such that longevity and success. So we will see how this message help us. Okay, so now with that message, we're talking about saving money, reducing stress, eat healthier, gaining back time. Okay, so we stop talking about the brand. Okay, and here, okay, it's really what is called like being the guide. So the customer is the hero, we're the guide, okay, but we are not the main character, because it's all about what they will accomplish with, like, yes, our products. So we are here to help the hero, which is the customer, overcome their problem. Okay, so that's the reason why when we look at the Tupperware brand, okay, it's lost its way, because we have still been positioning ourselves as the hero. And I'm remembering, I don't know if Sylvain you remember, but like the last Jubilee, okay, reading what we've just said, like, yes, actually at the Jubilee, we were more talking about our products, our like system, okay, instead of really focusing on the customer. So we position ourselves as the hero instead of really focusing on what the our customer really want. Okay, so we highlight our legacy, our network, our quality that are good, but we forgot the customer struggles.
Yeah. And are we doing the same mistake again with the recruitment? Oh my God. So I was trying to, let's say, talk about recruitment. And I say, okay, you know what? That podcast will help us to clarify our message to make sure that we are going to reach people. Okay, because in recruiting, our message needs to be rewritten and clarified. So sometimes we talk about our product, we talk about our system, but how can we help that young mom, okay, to survive and thrive? So this is what we have to do. So make sure that Jean-Philippe and I, we are going to try to give you, let's say, a sentence easy to say for the recruitment. Okay, so I think it's going to be very interesting in that book. So if we want to help people to survive and thrive, okay, so the Mr. Miller, the Mr. Science, okay, said it. No, the author said the brain is constantly filtering information, rejecting million of useless fact every day. So if our message feels like another useless facts, so of course we have to erase it, okay, because we have to filter all those message, okay, we cannot retain everything, okay, so the customer will buy someone else, okay, at another place, okay, even if our product is better, okay, because our message it's not clear, so we are not racing to get a product into the marketplace, okay, we are racing to communicate why customer needs their our product.
So if we like just want to give you a teaser for what we will cover in the next podcast. Okay, so we are taking like the our core offer. Okay, so yes, we will work about like our business, about our offer, and we will rewrite it. Okay, using the SB7 framework from the author. So we want to give you just a quick teaser of what will be the first three elements that we will cover, because they are the starting point of every messages. It's about understanding who do we have in front of us. First is a character. So this is the hero of the story, and this is not you. This is your customer. The second step, okay, that we will cover is that customer has a problem. Okay, he has an external problem, he has an internal problem, and he even have a philosophical problem. He may not be able like to say it this way, but when you dig, okay, this is where you find the roots of the problem, okay? And you need to identify all of those three problems to understand really who is your customer. And third, there's a guide. This will be us, okay? Because I know that most people that are listening to our podcast are part of network marketing. So this is you, but you're not the hero. You're the guide, okay? You're the one with empathy and authority, okay? Empathy means that you're showing that you understand your customer's struggle, and authority means proving that you can help him solve it.
Yeah. So exactly, Jean-Philippe. Once we do that, we stop talking about chairs in the room. Okay, we are looking for the emergency exit. Okay. So for our next episode, we'll dive into the second mistake, okay, that business makes, and we will try to start clarifying our message because, as the author said, no one will listen if your message is not clear. No matter how expensive your marketing material are, so you have to clarify your message. So thank you everyone for listening, and make sure to continue to follow the Story Brand 2.0. So we are going to help you to clarify your message.